Are you a notary ready to move beyond the basics? Don't get caught unprepared with legal risks and client pitfalls. You need a blueprint for success. Introducing Notary Knowledge Reference Guide and Notary Bible. This is your essential playbook. Learn to master your duties, build a thriving mobile business, and protect yourself from costly mistakes with expert advice. Find Notary Knowledge Reference Guide and Notary Bible by Derek Spruill from Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, Books of Million, Bookshop.org, Mobile Notary by DerekSpruill.com, or download from Kindle today.
Welcome to Notary Knowledge, everyone. I am Eddie, and I am joined by our resident expert, Marilyn. We are so glad to have you here with us today.
Yeah, thank you. It's always great to be here. We have a really fascinating topic today.
We absolutely do. And just a quick reminder before we get started, make sure to check out our video show, No Notary, with Eddie Montez Travis, and also Marilyn's 90 Seconds of Notary.
Right. And if you haven't already, we highly encourage you to buy the Notary Knowledge books by Derek Spruill. They are, an incredible resource. And you can visit the Notary Knowledge website for more information on all of that.
Yeah, totally. And please rate the show, subscribe, and share it with others if you find this helpful. We really appreciate the support.
We really do.
So today we are discussing the New York Handbook Basics, specifically focusing on New York laws. There are some things in life that, feel like they permanently belong in the analog world.
Well, for sure.
Like, imagine trying to digitally recreate getting a document notarized. For centuries, it's been the exact same process. You find a person, you slide your driver's license across a mahogany desk, they squint at it under a fluorescent light, watch you sign a piece of paper, and then ka-chunk, they stamp it.
Right. I mean, it is a highly tactile experience. It relies entirely on physical presence, on the idea that human eyes and a heavy rubber stamp are the, ultimate guarantors of authenticity.
Yeah, it's an ancient public office. But today, our mission is to explore how New York State has abruptly dragged this centuries-old tradition into the digital age. We are looking at the monumental 2023 overhaul of New York's notary laws.
Driven primarily by Executive Law 135C and a pretty dense set of regulations known as 19 NYCRR Part 182.
Exactly. And we'll unpack how the state balances this high-tech convenience with a really fierce fight against deed fraud. Plus, later on, we've got our run of show with 10 multiple-choice questions and a few real-world scenarios from you guys.
It is a lot to cover, but it's a fascinating shift to observe from a high-level perspective. The state isn't just, updating tech to make things convenient. They're fundamentally re-engineering how we establish trust.
So what was the catalyst for all this? Because state bureaucracies don't usually overhaul centuries of tradition just for the fun of it.
No, they certainly don't. The catalyst, as with so many recent tech shifts, was the COVID-19 pandemic. In early 2020, the world completely shut down.
Right. Everything just stopped.
But the legal and financial systems couldn't stop. People still needed wills, property transfers, powers of attorney. So the state had to figure out how to maintain an in-person tradition when people were legally required to stay apart.
And looking at our sources, their immediate solution was something called remote ink notarization, or RIN. Which, honestly, it sounds less like a tech leap and more like a duct tape fix during an emergency.
The duct tape fix is a very accurate analogy. Under the temporary RIN rules, a notary and a signer would get on a live video call. The notary would watch the signer physically sign a paper document with a wet ink pen.
Okay, so far so good.
But then the signer had to put that physical piece of paper in an envelope and mail it to the notary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and days later, when it finally arrived, the notary would apply their physical ink stamp and sign it.
I mean, I can't imagine a clunkier process. You have the instant speed of a video call,
Right.
Totally bottlenecked by the Postal Service.
It was flawed on so many levels. Because it lacked digital protections, there was a massive risk of the document being altered in transit. Now someone could swap a page before mailing it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That was just a stopgap,
Oh.
which is why on January 31st, 2023, the temporary statute allowing RIN was officially repealed. Remote ink notarization is completely dead in New York.
RIP to RIN. So if that was the duct tape fix, what is the permanent solution?
The permanent replacement is a much more robust framework called Remote Online Notarization, or RON. With RON, there's no paper and no mail. The entire transaction is paperless, executed via secure software utilizing public key infrastructure, or PKI.
Let me stop you there because when I hear digital signature, I just imagine someone, pasting a JPEG of their signature onto a PDF. How is PKI different?
It's entirely different from pasting an image. Public key infrastructure uses complex cryptography. Think of it like a digital wax seal.
Okay.
When the notary applies their digital certificate to the file, it essentially locks the document's code. If even one pixel, one comma, or one metadata tag is altered after signing, the math breaks. The seal shatters.
Boy, really?
Yeah, and anyone who opens the file gets a massive, undeniable warning that the document has been compromised.
So it's basically an airport security checkpoint inside your laptop. And this new system completely changes the geographical rules, right?
It does. Under RON, the notary must be physically located within the boundaries of New York State at the exact moment they perform the act. They even have to use a network that permits location detection to, digitally prove they are in the state.
Okay, but what about the signer?
The signer can be anywhere in the world.
Literally anywhere. Like if I'm sitting in a cafe in Tokyo and I need to close on a house in Brooklyn, as long as my notary is sitting at their desk in Buffalo, we can do this.
Yes, with one highly specific caveat. If you are outside the United States, you must verbally confirm on the recorded video call that the document involves a matter before a U.S. court or that it involves property located within U.S. jurisdiction.
Ah, I see.
You cannot use a New York notary to execute a purely foreign transaction between two people in Japan.
That makes perfect sense. The state has to maintain its jurisdictional boundaries. But here is where the regulations get really concerning to me. We are talking about complex cryptographic wax seals and secure video servers.
Right.
And New York requires the technology to meet incredibly strict federal guidelines, right? Like identity assurance level 2.
Correct. The platforms must meet very high benchmarks for data security.
So if the standards are that high, why isn't New York giving notaries a certified list of approved software? Unlike other states, New York does not pre-approve the platforms. Isn't it a massive risk to make individual notaries responsible for vetting cryptographic software?
Well, this touches on a core debate about regulatory philosophy. Other states use an application and certification model where the Secretary of State blesses specific software. But New York opted for a free market route. They placed the burden of selection entirely on the electronic notary.
Which just seems terrifying for the notary.
It is a heavy responsibility. But if we pull back and look at how New York structures its general business law, the strategy becomes clear. The state dictates that if a software provider operates in New York and represents to notaries that their platform complies, that vendor is legally bound by that representation.
So the notary just has to obtain confirmation from the vendor.
Exactly. Rather than bottlenecking innovation through a slow approval process, the state is saying, we set the rules. Vendors, if you lie to our notaries about your security, we will aggressively come after you.
Okay, that shifts the liability to the tech companies. That makes sense. Let's talk about the actual experience, though. Because since RON allows a signer to be anywhere on the planet, the glaring question is, how do you actually prevent fraud through a computer screen?
Right. It's not like the analog world where you can tilt an ID and see the hologram.
Exactly. How on earth does a webcam replicate looking someone in the eye and checking their face against a photo?
This is where the regulations have created what I'd call a multi-layered identity gauntlet. If the notary doesn't personally know the remote signer, the software must force the signer through two distinct, mandatory technological hurdles before they can even view the document.
Okay, break this gauntlet down for me. What is the first hurdle?
Step 1 is credential analysis. The signer has to hold the front and back of a government-issued photo ID up to their camera. But the notary isn't just eyeballing the video feed. A third-party automated software actively analyzes the security features of that ID.
How can a software program analyze a physical hologram through a standard, laptop webcam?
The software usually forces the user to tilt the ID back and forth on camera. It uses AI to analyze how the light refracts off the microprinting and the holographic patterns in real time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then it matches that data against the manufacturer's proprietary mathematical models to ensure it's not a fake.
So you've essentially got a highly advanced digital bouncer at the door. But a fake ID can only go so far if the person doesn't know my history. Is there a behavioral check?
That brings us to step 2, which is identity proofing, specifically using knowledge-based authentication, or KBA. This confirms the identity by asking dynamic personal history questions generated from public and proprietary data.
Like those multiple choice questions.
Exactly, like which of these 4 addresses did you live at in 2014, or which bank held your auto loan in 2018?
See, I have to challenge the security of this KBA system. In an era of massive data breaches, where it feels like everyone's credit history is available for purchase on the dark web, isn't KBA actually less secure than just looking someone in the eye?
It's a fair point.
Because if an identity thief buys my data package, they can pass that history quiz way faster than I can.
You're touching on a major debate in cybersecurity right now. KBA relies on secret knowledge that is, frankly, becoming increasingly public. However, if we look at the design of the New York statute, it's not relying on KBA alone. It is the combination of these tools that creates a formidable barrier.
So the gauntlet relies on multiple traps triggering at once.
Right. Think about the logistics for a fraudster. They wouldn't just need your stolen credit history to pass the quiz. They would also need a physical counterfeit of your license high enough quality to fool the AI's light refraction analysis.
Right.
And on top of all that, they have to join a live, recorded audio-visual feed with the notary, meaning their face and voice are permanently captured committing a felony.
Okay, the layering really is the key. That is a massive amount of risk for a scammer. But what if I am a legitimate signer? Let's say I just have a really thin credit file so KBA can't generate questions or my camera is smudged. If I fail this high-tech gauntlet, am I just locked out?
No, the law includes a specific failsafe. If you fail the automated checks, the alternative is using 2 remote credible witnesses. These are 2 people who personally know you.
Okay.
But here is the catch. Those 2 witnesses must independently pass the digital ID checks themselves. They have to pass the credential analysis and the KBA, and then join the live video call to take an oath affirming your identity.
Wow. So the technology doesn't go away, the burden just shifts to your friends. That is a serious digital barrier.
It is an incredibly high barrier to entry.
Okay, so digital transactions are Fort Knox now. But what about the traditional notary sitting at the local bank? Did the state just leave the analog world alone?
Not at all. The intense scrutiny required for digital acts logically spilled over into traditional paper acts. And this sparked a massive legal and political fight in New York. This brings us to the journal mandate.
The black box.
Yes. This is perhaps the most fiercely debated change. Effective January 25, 2023, all notaries in New York State must maintain a contemporaneous journal of their notarial acts.
And when you say all notaries...
I mean every single one of them, even those who only do traditional in-person wet ink signatures. Historically, New York never required paper notaries to keep a logbook. You just stamped it and moved on. Now, every single act must be recorded, and those records must be retained for 10 years.
10 years. It really is like an airplane's black box. You hope you never need it, but you are required to record the flight data just in case there's an investigation a decade from now. What exactly goes into this journal?
You have to record the date and approximate time, the type of act, the full names and addresses of the individuals involved, the verification procedures used, and the exact type of credential provided.
Wow, that turns a casual 2-minute favor into a significant administrative chore, which explains the resistance. Our sources show that legal professionals absolutely hated this.
They did. Many lawyers in New York are also notaries or employ paralegals who are. They argued that forcing a lawyer notary to record the names and addresses of clients in a journal, one that could potentially be subpoenaed, violated attorney-client privilege.
Were they just trying to get out of doing paperwork? Because if I go to a lawyer to sign a public real estate deed, my identity isn't exactly a secret.
The New York City Bar Association actually issued a report dismantling that exact argument. They pointed out that lawyers were confusing their roles. A lawyer advocates for a client, but a notary is a neutral public officer commissioned by the state. Their primary duty is to the general public to prevent fraud.
So they wear 2 completely different hats.
Exactly. Verifying an identity is not privileged legal advice. If a lawyer feels it conflicts, they can just refuse to act as a notary in that instance. But they cannot exempt themselves from the duties of a public officer.
But the lawyers took this fight to the state legislature, right?
They did, and passed the Journal Abolition Bill, which would have exempted paper-based acts from the journal entirely.
But Governor Kathy Hochul vetoed it.
Yes. Her reasoning was driven by the reality of modern fraud. While Ron gets all the high-tech paranoia, traditional wet ink transactions account for almost all recorded cases of deed fraud and physical forgery in New York.
Wait, really? The analog way is where the real fraud happens.
Absolutely. Without a journal, if a criminal uses a fake ID to sign over a house, the only evidence is a forged signature and a stamp. The notary won't remember who was there 3 years later. But with a journal, law enforcement has a contemporaneous record. It's a vital investigative tool.
Okay, so the black box is mandatory. Which brings me to the economics of the stamp. Let's talk about the fees, because the financial model seems totally disjointed.
The disparity is striking. A registered electronic notary can charge up to $25 for a remote electronic act.
Given the software costs, $25 almost seems cheap. But what about the traditional notary keeping this 10-year journal?
A traditional in-person oath or acknowledgement is legally capped at $2.
$2 in New York State.
Yes, that fee has been stagnant since 1991. It makes New York one of the lowest paying starts, despite the high cost of living. There are proposed Senate bills to raise it to $5 or $10, but currently it remains at $2.
So what happens if I have a digital document notarized online for $25, but I need to file it with a county clerk who refuses digital files and insists on paper? Doesn't printing it destroy the cryptography?
Printing does strip the digital metadata, but the law created a bridge called papering out. A notary can print a tangible copy and then physically execute a separate certificate of authenticity, swearing under oath that the printout is a true copy of the original.
And how much can they charge for this crucial bridge?
The preparation of that certificate is a traditional act, so $2.
I have to point out the absurdity here. You are required to meticulously verify identities, keep 10-year records, and if you fail, you can be prosecuted for official misconduct under New York Penal Law Section 19500.
Which is classified as a Class A misdemeanor.
Right. You risk a Class A misdemeanor for a capped fee of $2. Why would anyone bother?
It's a valid critique. The state used the $2 fee as a nominal public service cap to ensure access to the legal system. But the tension between modern liability and a fee cap from 1991 is undeniable.
All right, let's put this knowledge to the test. It's time for our run of show, 10 multiple-choice questions based on everything we just covered. We'll read the hook and the options and give you a moment to think.
Sounds good.
Question 1. Here's the hook about the pandemic rules. What temporary measure was repealed and replaced by Ron in New York? A. Remote ink notarization. Or B. Papering out.
Take 2 or 3 seconds to think about it.
And the answer is A. Remote ink notarization, or RIN.
Right. Question 2. During a RON transaction, where must the notary physically be located? A. Anywhere in the U.S. or B. Within New York State?
Take a second. Think about that.
The answer is B. Within New York State boundaries.
Question 3. How long must a New York notary retain their journal and audiovisual recordings? A. 5 years or B. 10 years?
We'll give you a couple seconds.
And the reveal, it is B. 10 years. That's the black box rule.
Exactly. Question 4. What is the legally capped fee for a traditional in-person notarial act in New York? A. $2 or B. $25?
Think about it.
It is A. $2.
Question 5. Under the identity gauntlet, what is KBA? A. Knowledge-based authentication or B. Key binding algorithm?
Take a second here.
The answer is A. Knowledge-based authentication.
All right, question 6. If a signer fails the automated digital ID checks, how many credible witnesses are required as a failsafe? A. 1 or B. 2?
Give it a thought.
The answer is B. 2 credible witnesses.
Question 7. What level of crime can a notary face for deliberately failing to maintain their journal? A. A Class A misdemeanor, or B. A simple fine?
Take 2 seconds.
The answer is A. A Class A misdemeanor.
Question 8. Does New York State pre-approve a certified list of RON software platforms? A. Yes or B. No?
Think about it.
The answer is B. No. It's a free market approach.
Question 9. Can a signer physically located in Tokyo use a New York RON platform? A. Yes, if the document involves U.S. jurisdiction, or B. No, they must be in the U.S.
Take a moment.
The answer is A. Yes, as long as it involves U.S. jurisdiction or property.
And our final question, number 10. What is the fee to execute a certificate of authenticity when papering out? A. $25 or B. $2?
Take your time.
It is B. $2.
Excellent. I hope you guys at home did well on those. Let's quickly look at some real-world scenarios you all sent in. First up, we have Julian from North Carolina. He sent a cold email to a New York title company offering his RON services.
Well, Julian, since you are in North Carolina, you can't operate as a New York notary. Remember, the notary has to be physically located within New York State boundaries.
Right. And then Camille in Minnesota asked about running ads in New York for her Minnesota-based RON business.
That's a bit tricky. She can advertise, but she must follow Minnesota's notary laws, not New York's, and the receiving agencies in New York would have to be willing to accept an out-of-state notarization.
Got it. Now, Isaac in Missouri works for a signing agency, and they told him not to worry about a journal to save time.
Isaac, do not listen to them. Whether you are in Missouri or New York, if your state law mandates a journal, and New York certainly does, you are personally liable. Your agency won't be the one facing the misdemeanor.
Great advice. Penelope in Connecticut asked if she could officiate a wedding since she's a newly commissioned notary.
So some states like Florida do allow notaries to officiate weddings, but New York and Connecticut generally do not. Always check your state's specific handbook.
And finally, Adrian in Florida is dealing with a really slow season and complaining about the fee structures.
Adrian, we feel your pain. Florida's fees are slightly different, but the struggle of traditional notary economics is universal. It's tough when you compare the risk to the reward, much like New York's stagnant $2 fee.
It really is. So if we bring this all full circle, New York's notary system has fundamentally transformed. We've gone from a casual ink stamp to a highly scrutinized, data-rich transaction designed around extreme accountability.
It represents a profound shift in how we verify truth. We are no longer relying solely on human memory. We are backing it up with cryptography and permanent records.
Which leaves you with something fascinating to ponder. As tech advances, especially with the explosion of AI-generated deepfakes that can mimic a real person on a webcam remote online notarizations eventually become less trusted than the old-fashioned look-me-in-the-eye ink signature. Or will the undeniable proof of a digital paper trail replace physical human witnesses altogether?
It is a wild thought to leave off on.
Absolutely. Well, please email your questions to Derek at dereksbril.com. We will try to answer as soon as possible at the end of our shows.
Yes, keep those questions coming.
Our show is executive produced by Derek Sproul, with lead writing by Marilyn Lee Trotter, graphics by Eddie Montez Travis, music by Thomas Bynum, and produced by Magnificent Works Business Solutions.
Don't just be listeners of the knowledge.
Be doers of the knowledge. This is Notary Knowledge. Until next time.
To obtain more notary knowledge, explore the full collection of books by Derek Sproul and find the perfect book for your notary business. Visit any online bookstore, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble Bookstore, booksofmillion.com, bookshop.org, Mobile Notary by DerekSproul.com, or download from Kindle to obtain your essential notary book to help with all your notarizations starting today.